Okay. All right. Well, we're a couple minutes late, but that's not a big deal. Welcome everyone here. We also have a camera streaming, so I'm going to do that weird thing where I talk to you guys a little bit, but then I also just stare off into a little box. So for folks at home or wherever you are, welcome to our little workshop. You missed free pizza in the entryway to the COE, so if you're here, go get some on your way out. And then you can give your IEIN number to the COE, because I know you all have accessed that for your edTPA stuff. That's how you get your voucher keys. So, in the meantime, we are going to, between me and pizza, we are going to talk about doing your edTPA tabs. I know some of you are at different stages. Most of you are going to want to focus on video, and we'll talk a lot about that tonight, but I'm going to kind of go through the crash course at the beginning, just so that people who aren't here, who maybe have questions, get that. If at any point you need me to stop and clarify or whatever, just shout at me, throw something at me. People at home can type it in the comment box and we'll address those. Hopefully most of you guys have gotten your handbook connected to your edTPA tab. If you haven't, just a refresher that when you go to the course in Digication, under the edTPA tab, this will be for your capstone seminar course, not your student teaching class or whatnot. Go to the edTPA tab, and then you will see, oops, well now you'll see me streaming. No, there we go. Now you'll see, can you still see the stream on that, or did I accidentally stop it? All right, there we go. There we go. You'll see something that's a big blue button that says New edTPA Materials. And underneath that is where you will select your handbook, which has to be national. Don't do Washington. We don't live in Washington. And then you'll pick the correct version. If you are elementary education, that's when, or you want to pick whichever content you are. Don't pick the weird generic one. Everybody else, though, you pretty much know what you're going to do. And then you begin, and it will add that handbook to the side. You'll see under your little tab part on the side, you'll see which handbook. Some people worry that they added too many handbooks, or they added the wrong one and then they added another. Don't worry, it's not going to ruin your submitting to Pearson if you have additional handbooks on the side. So if, for example, I am Megan in this case on here, and see how I have secondary science and secondary math there accidentally. If I actually was doing secondary math, I just put all my stuff under that. Don't worry about secondary science. It doesn't matter. Pearson really just wants the bundle under one thing. If it's really freaking you out that you have a whole bunch of tabs on there or a whole bunch of extra handbooks on there, contact support at Digication and tell them who you are, what class you're in, and that you want specifically which ones you want removed, and they can remove it. You'll also, as you've been going on, you've probably noticed there's a percentage bar that's been going across the top here underneath. That is, I get to reiterate, not how far you are to being done in this, but just how many things you've put content in. So one of the things you really need to pay attention to is what you're dumping in these bins, just in case it's the wrong file type or something like that. And then some people were talking about, I can't see in this one, but if I go to more here, your authorization key is, you put it into this slot under the More tab. If you're having problems still with your authorization key, it's okay up to like when you're going to submit. So don't worry, like you still have to wait to put in content before that is all good. You just need to make sure that when you go to submit to Pearson, this is input, because that's the way they're going to know which account goes with which on the two different platforms. So at that point, you all should be putting content in. I'm flying over real quick on some of this stuff, just putting in different tasks, different parts. I don't have in this view, because I'm not Megan in this case, a little add button, but you would be adding your files into these spots. Some of them will take more than one file, some of them just take one. Read what it says. Do you have a question?
Yeah, what if you don't have the edTPA tab on?
Ah, what class are you in?
No,
used to convert the .move file to an MP4.
There, I'm going to stop the share for a second so I can do this.
I've already finished.
You said, which one is it?
What?
What?
How do I convert the .move file to an MP4?
Okay.
So I can only play MP4.
It's
She
on
said
there.
Alex did it.
The capstone?
Handbrake, that's
Oh,
still on there. I can do
Going
it.
to the seminar, the PCE student teaching seminar.
8387.
Is this the only video? Oh, she's
Yeah.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. Okay. So I will pop back onto sharing the screen now. Okay. So again, if you're putting content in, most of the handbooks will tell you exactly what you need to do. Obviously, they're not going to tell you how exactly to set up your shots or any of the video things that you guys have probably heard me say already. We have some guides back on the D2L site. If you remember on the side here, you had to do all the understanding the edTPA modules. Above that is edTPA resources, and then edTPA video resources is one of the sub modules. What you just want to pay attention to again is, are you following what your handbook is requiring, because your neighbor's handbook might be a little different, and are you just obeying certain rules that Digication has that we'll get to in a moment. Most file types are okay. With video though, they're really nice about, if I go back here, telling you exactly what they need on top here. So Docx, ODT, PDF should be one of those. 601, I would say if you have the chance to make a PDF, do it. It'll be more stable in the long run. Docx Files, though, are not a bad thing. Some people who we've had recently where they were going in and they were editing their Word doc and it would have a big gap for just white space and they couldn't get the page to change. There's actually a little tool, so if you look the little backwards P, the Pilcrow in Word, if you click on that, it'll show you all the little edit marks. And there's one that's, I think it's called a section break, that is keeping that from happening. So just click and delete that and it'll collapse all that white space. That was a pretty recent thing. So again, if you're having trouble with that, don't worry, ask us if you're here, or just shoot us an email and we can show you a little bit better how to do that. All right, what most of you are probably concerned about is task 2, video clips. Yes. So there are a bunch of different extensions on here that you can use. Most of you, if you're recording with your phones, you're not going to have to worry about this. Really the weird ones are if you're using some other sort of camcorder or whatnot. But if you're using your phone or you're using a tablet or something like that, it's going to save in one of these generic formats. You can always check this later on when you're looking at the files, but just keep an eye on that if you are using something different. The big requirements, it also says, well, the file type, and then it also says 500 megabyte max per file. So that doesn't mean 500 total, that means each file can be 500 megabytes. If you come in at $4.99, maybe 500, sometimes you get lucky there, great, don't worry about it, move on. Excuse me. If you come in at 502, 600, 900, 2.5 gigabytes, we've seen it all, then we're just going to compress the file. You don't need to just start hacking away at it. So the editing of the video itself, excuse me, is going to be more for the content. So when you look at your video, and let's say the beginning shot was you setting up and starting the camera, then so it's just really close up of your face for a minute or something, and then you walk off. Or at the end, you go into a weird like coughing fit, and then you're done with your lesson, but it's in there. You can cut that stuff off. You can take from the beginning and the end. And we'll show you in just a minute on, we'll use the Mac here. PC has its own programs as well, but the principles are the same, where you can cut off the ends of those files. The thing you can't do is in the middle, if you start sneezing for about a good 30 seconds and then you get back into it, you can't get rid of that, sorry. You're gonna have to leave that in. You can't cut stuff out of the middle. So if your, I don't know, principal walks in and starts talking to you halfway through the lesson, sorry. Yes?
There's someone in here who had a glitch in their video where it just pauses and freezes the frame and then resumes again?
I don't believe a glitch is a bad thing. I think an edit is the bad thing. We can take a look and see how bad the thing is.
It's about
If,
3-4 seconds.
yeah, I mean, if it just stops and then resumes and it looks
Yeah, it
like
stops,
it's the
you
same
can hear the
continuous shot and all. Oh, the audio keeps going?
Yeah.
Oh, then yeah, I wouldn't worry about that. Because they're looking for a continual clip. So the things that you want to avoid are where you're destroying parts of the video in the middle. You're getting rid of scenes. That's what's not acceptable. I mean, they know, like, this is life. If stuff happens, like, it's okay. We had some people that are also worried about the volume and all that. As long as you're able to be heard, that's fine. So if you just got to turn it up and it sounds not great, but you can hear everything crystal clear, nobody cares if it sounds like you weren't in a recording booth somewhere. Just go ahead with that. And what was another recent one? Oh, with you being in the shot, one of the things to keep in mind is that you just need to be identifiable in there. If you get up and you stand out for a second to, I don't know, grab a paper off your desk and then you come back, that's fine. Nobody's, you don't need to have like motion tracking on you the whole time to make sure. The thing that they want to make sure is that you are identifiable at some point through there. So if I'm sitting and you only see like my right shoulder, well, my right shoulder through the whole shot, I don't know that's me. So that's the kind of stuff that they want to avoid. In terms of identifying information, this has been a big one for people. I know that schools have now all their logos and phrases and things on them. The one that you want to make sure that it's just, you can't identify exactly that place. If it says MHHS, I don't know what that is. Good, keep going. If it says Home of the Vikings on it or something on the back, I don't know. There's a lot of schools that have Vikings, like it's fine. But if it says, I don't know, like Rutgers Heights High School, or something, and it's very clearly right in the front, that's where you've got to work on that. Same with, like, some people worry about calling on students. If you say, Jim, answer the question. So there's a lot of Jims in the world. It's fine. If somebody says, Jim Timothy, Williams the Third or whatever, and you give the student's full name, okay, then we got to kind of watch that. And again, because they know you're going to be calling on students in the class, that's fine. You can always refer to yourself. They know who you are. And if you have other assistants in the classroom for various needs, as long as they are not conversing with you in the lesson, like detracting from your lesson, that's okay as well. So I know some people worry about, additional help for students. That doesn't, like, you don't have to cut them out of the shot if that was a good shot, just as long as they're not chattering with you and trying to change things. So in terms of content, that's kind of the big one, or those are the heavy hitters. We'll get to editing in a second. Any other like content-specific questions that you guys have? Yeah.
Well, I have a video where they're doing coursework
Uh-huh.
pretty much, and you can hear the students' voices, but then you can also hear my voice speaking to like a specific group.
Mm-hmm.
But you can hear both. So only if you like focus on what I'm saying, then you'll be able to hear it. But if you're just like listening randomly, watching it, you won't really.
You can subtitle or annotate that as well, because the audio is there. If you are able to make that out when you're listening to it, then you can give the cue to the viewer, either through, I think, subtitles, or there's ways that you can leave captioning notes or something. We can talk about the best way to do that later, but if it's understandable when you get to that point, that's fine. If it's critical to the lesson. If it's just you guys chattering at some point, then you may not even need to do that. You can just say, this is where we all broke out and talked for a minute, something like that. The big one is usually if somebody, I don't know, gets a good response in the class, and you can hear the student kind of talking, but you can't make out what they're saying. Like those, they still allow you to be able to annotate that and put in a caption on that that says, like, yes, they're talking, this is what they said.
Should we want that on their actual video, not on the commentary section? Because I did it
The commentary would be fine
Oh.
on that, yeah.
That was my
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, they don't want you to really destroy the video footage on there. I don't think they're really going to care if you go gung-ho and say, you know, like subtitles or something, but you just want to kind of leave the video as normal as possible. Yeah.
So I did small group guided reading, and some of my kids are really, really shy, so you can't really hear them.
Sure.
I repeat though aloud what they say. That's okay?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Other thoughts on content stuff? I know it's real specific to just there was that one day and something happened, and now I didn't plan on that. Again, you also don't have to look. I know some people worry about the visual part as well. That as long as they know that's you and they can tell the kids are there and all, I don't care if I can tell like what dimples on your face and all. Like it doesn't have to be a high quality. So I mentioned that when we start to compress files, the quality does tend to go down, and that's as long as it doesn't look like you filmed it on a potato at first, like you'll be okay. You'll have plenty of room to play with it. So that's the content, that's the guts of it. Compressing it though, the good news is that usually you can compress while or right after you've done the editing as well. So don't worry about like these are all different steps you have to do, because maybe if you're trimming the ends, when you save it again, you can get some of that compression in. So just do your edits first, get the parts that you want for the content, and then we can worry about did you meet the 500 megabyte threshold or not. Right, so I think that's, one other thing, and then we'll talk about actually cutting the videos. When you go to upload these, make sure one, you're keeping a copy of your original file as you work on these, but then as you're uploading them, it's gonna take a few minutes. Like it's not gonna just immediately go up, especially some of these closer to 500 megabytes. Later on, I'll reiterate that you don't have to, once you're transferring to Pearson, leave your computer going and up. But when you're uploading to the Digication profile, you definitely need to kind of at least keep it awake or something. I don't know, and walk around and tap it every once in a while. I don't know. All right, so now cutting video. James, our GA, is going to help out show how to, I guess we can just do the Mac one if you want. Show you how to do some basic trimming on these. Again, can't cut from the middle. One other thing while he brings that up, some of you do get the opportunity to use smaller clips as well. So if you had a nice big clip and you realize, man, I can't use that, but there's still good small content in there, keep it and use that smaller part. Like just because your whole shot wasn't perfect doesn't mean you might not still be able to get things out of it. All right, so you good? Oh, you just gotta,
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
And then I'll probably just share the desktop actually, because I only had the window going.
Gotcha.
There we go.
All right. Hey everybody, James Vallis here, and everybody watching online as well. Graduate assistant, like John said, here at the CET. I know I'm going to sound a little repetitive because he already mentioned a lot of things that I'm going to go over, but I'm kind of going to show you how, you know, each of these things work. First of all, you set 500 megabyte max for your file size, so that's really, really important. How many of you guys know how to check your file size? Raise your hand.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go over that real quick here. Here's a test file. So on a Mac, you can just go ahead and do Command and click. Oops. And then click on Get Info.
PC, it's you can right click and do, I think it's properties, or you can look in the browser on both of these and it'll show you on the side how big it is.
And this shows you the size. This one is 431.5 megabytes. So this is under the limit. This would be acceptable to submit, but it's not over. So that's how you check your file size. And then on a Windows-based computer, you would right click and you would check your file size as well. So that's number one. So let's open this. If you're on a Mac computer, you can just easily use QuickTime. It's very, very easy to do. So this is the file right here.
This is very dark.
And let me go ahead and trim it first, and then I'll show you how to compress it, okay? So first thing you want to do when you trim, you just want to click on Edit, up here. If you guys want to do this along with me, for those of you that haven't done it, feel free. If you have any questions, let me know. And then click on trim. Okay. This little bar is going to pretty much control your in and your out. So you're just going to go ahead and just move your in to where you want it. This is kind of like the timeline you see. Goes by like seconds. And then this is your out right here. So you basically want to go ahead and trim where you want it to end and where you want it to start. And then you're just going to go ahead and click trim. Now, very, very important, you always want to make sure that you save your files different from the original video, because you don't want to override your original video, or you're going to be in big trouble. So that's very, very important. Okay, so go ahead and hit trim here. And this is the trim video. And now, you want to go ahead and export or save. You can save, okay? So this is how you're going to save it. Click save. And then you can just type in file name.
And this is if it was under 500.
Right.
You're not going to have to really worry about that.
It's going to take a little bit. I mean, they did it real quick because it's a really short video. So be patient. Don't freak out if it's starting to take a long time, because that's normal. Your video is going to be larger. So keep that in mind. Okay, now let's say this video is over the 500 megabyte limit. So here's how you compress it. You're going to basically open the file, and then you're going to go ahead and export as. And it's going to give you multiple options here. 4K, you want to stay away from 4K. It's like really, really big. Most of the video on your cell phone comes in 4K nowadays, right? Like the iPhone.
It'll start that way.
Yeah. So.
And if you've already recorded all your footage, this is moot point. But if you haven't recorded everything, make sure that the quality on your phone is not in 4K.
Right.
Because otherwise they would just by default be really big files.
Yeah, a large file. Okay, so you have your options here. I mean, the resolution isn't going to change much. So I think you can get away with 480p. That's what I would go with, and that's going to dramatically reduce your file size. Now, if you find yourself, trying to compress here and it's not working, come into the CET. We can use Adobe Premiere, try to get that file size down. But if you're doing 480p, it should condense the file below the 500 megabyte limit.
And some of them we have had to multiple times do this. Don't worry if you go to do it and you're just barely squeaking by or something. It's not the end of the world. We'll get it done. The biggest thing we want to make sure is you just have the footage you need and want, and then we'll deal with getting it down to what it needs to be.
Exactly. And like John said, when you're trimming, beginning to end, you don't want to start splicing, getting crazy, start editing the whole video, because it's not going to meet the requirement. So it's just at the beginning and it's at the end, and that's very, very important because they want it to be continuous. So keep that in mind. So that's how you do it here. That's how you go ahead and
so
compress your
if you
video.
hit the 480 just to show.
Oh yeah, I can show that for you real quick.
So it'll bring up the same save, but now the quality will be lower, which will make a smaller file. And you'll see it'll say exporting on there. That's just, it may take a few, but it'll get there.
Okay, info again to check your file size.
Yeah, now it's
And that's 14.4. And remember, originally it was 431.5 megabytes. So we dramatically compressed the video. So if you have issues, feel free to stop in. We're here Monday through Thursday, 9 o'clock to 8 o'clock, and then on Fridays, 9 to 5 o'clock. And we're here to help you, okay?
And we'll obviously folks at home, sorry, you can't pop in right now afterward. But for you guys who are here, we'll still be around to help out with all this when we're done here.
Absolutely. And just remember, I know John went over all this information, acceptable video formats,
Yeah.
MOV, MP4, M4V, WMV, MPEG, ASF, FLD are all acceptable.
If it doesn't open on your computer,
You're in trouble.
there's a chance it might not be the right format. So if it does open on your computer though, most even the PC stuff, so I know we didn't talk about it right here. We have a couple of programs though that we use. if you come in, we'll probably just get a copy and put it on one of our computers to cut some of it off. But PC, I think, Megan, correct me if I'm wrong on this. It's, what were the names of them?
NCH software. I'm going to show you some of those right
Okay.
now. Okay, so if you're not, on a Mac computer, and a lot of people are on, regular Windows computers, there's a few options out there. There's the Movies and TV app. I believe that's on Windows 10 and 8, right?
I think.
Windows
Yeah,
10 and
I
8.
think so.
Okay, so if you have that, look for the Movies and TV app. There's like a pencil. You can go. It kind of is very similar to the QuickTime, so keep an eye out for that. And then there are some other editing softwares that you can find online.
You'll notice that they might have extra boxes around, but the overall process is the same. They'll
Right.
give you a little thumbnail preview of what your footage is, and then you just drag on the ends until you get the section that you want, and then you save it, and it will 9 times, or export it. And that's just the quirk of whatever program, is whether they call it export or save, or sometimes it's called bounce as well. Really, there's no wrong program for this if you just get it down to the right size.
So here are some options that you
Yeah.
have for
SDC.
your Windows computer if you don't have that Movies and TV app. This one is VSDC video editing software. Again,
Sorry, what computer's that for?
This
PC.
is for a regular PC, not for a Mac.
Yeah.
And you can click here and download. It is free, so feel free to use that. There's another one that's called the NCH software, and that's at nchsoftware.com. And this one is also good for editing video.
There's also, for folks that are just looking to compress, so let's say you nailed it, perfect shot, it was great, I don't need to edit anything on it. There's also Handbrake is an app that works on both platforms, that'll just let you compress. Again, it's not you could run through one of these softwares, like if you didn't want to edit in QuickTime, you just wanted to compress, then just open it and save it as another type. You don't have to do the trim.
And this is Handbrake
So there
right
you go.
here.
Yeah.
So it lets you convert video from nearly any format, create an open source, and it's also available for Windows, Mac, and Linux computers.
And we just mention all these not to terrify you, especially home people, but just so that you know there are lots of options out there. So if one of these you start using and you feel like this is insane, I can't deal with this, try another one. Sometimes maybe one works on your computer and another doesn't. Obviously, at the end of all that, like you guys here, we'll be here to help one-on-one, but if you're still running up against a wall or you just can't get it right, come on in, we'll help you guys out.
And then there's also iMovie on your Mac.
Oh,
So
yeah.
if you don't want to use,
Good old
QuickTime,
iMovie.
there's iMovie for you. So many options. Again, you just want to make sure the file size is below the 500. You don't want any you don't want any trimming in the middle, beginning and end. And then make sure you save your file in the acceptable formats.
So,
Any
other than
questions?
your personal need of actual trimming, are there any questions on this or online? I think we're okay, other than just individual cases and all of getting it done. Some people were asking about blurring, and I'll just the elephant in the room on that one. So I'll give you 2 answers on blurring. One is, I will give you an example of, we had somebody who said, I am doing PE, and we did the gym, and there's a giant logo and name of the school out on the court on the bottom in my shot. What do I do? And instead of blurring, the simple solution was just cut the bottom of the video off. You don't have to see the kids' feet. So they all were running around, but you only see about up to their shins. But that works because now the logo's gone and everybody's happy. The other one is, okay, I thought we got everybody, or actually that one does stick out a little bit more than any, and it is identifying if the person is sitting in one spot, or if something was on the wall and you completely forgot about it, there is a way where we can just slap a blur rectangle on there. no, we're not gonna like do some weird Hollywood where it blends in seamlessly and all, because Pearson doesn't care. They just want it to be censored. So for your sanity and ours, we can help put that on there. The thing that becomes problematic is when people are moving around all the time and it's very apparent. So that's why, you know, finding those things of, is it just the initials? Is it something very vague? Does anybody really know who that is? 9 times out of 10, it's really not a big deal. So we can look at blurring if this is your amazing shot, but hopefully you also have other footage that you can use to supplement for where maybe this one shot let you down. Again, tracking movement blur, not good and easy. But if it's just some guy sitting in a corner, yeah, we can deal with that. All right.
And no identifying information, just like the other one.
Yes.
That's the last one. Any other questions regarding video editing?
Perfect. Okay.
All right.
So pretending that you just did all of that and you have your perfect files done, which will, again, for you guys here, will help actually do the cutting. I did want to take a couple minutes to just talk about what happens after that. Because I know the video chews up a lot of attention, but you still have to submit this thing. So as a reminder of what happens, I'm going to move me down there. You're going to go, well, I don't see it because, again, I'm not Megan, but there will be an option for you to, once you get 100% up here, which means you have all your files in there. Doesn't mean you're 100% done, it just means you've put all your files in. You will then have a prompt to, my dissertation was still, oops, go back.
You need to make the screen share.
Oh, did I accidentally kill the screen share again?
We got a lovely view of James.
Nice.
Oh, perfect. Hey, everybody.
All right. Desktop. There we go. Okay. So there we go. So to reiterate on this, let's say that I've gone through, I've done all this stuff, I validated my key, I put in all the things. Go to the next page. There'll be a thing that says, yes, I'm ready to preview all my TPA materials. You check the box and you go, which I will do. You will get a blue box on the top that says preparing your transfer. This does not mean you're done. This just means that things are now moving from Digication to Pearson. This means, though, that you can actually get up and leave the computer. It's okay. Like, it's moving all that time that it's spent uploading files into Digication. This is where you don't have to wait again for that. This will happen in the background, servers in the cloud and all that tech jargon. You don't need to be around for that. It will take time, though. So the usual window, they say, is it can take up to 48 hours. My experience, personally, is that if you've hit about 24 hours and it's still not done, we can start to look into it. But it may actually take a day, especially if you got a lot of really heavy video. Think about all that content you just put in there. It's going to take time to move over. What you will look for, though, is when it turns to green. It says transferred. If it doesn't, let's say you hit hour 28 and you're still like, I haven't heard anything, I don't see anything, this isn't great, go over to Pearson's site and take a look, and we'll show that in a second. If your stuff is over there, don't worry about it. What ends up happening is, dry throat. What ends up happening is your materials go over to Pearson's site. Pearson takes a look at them and they say, yeah, that's good, I've got them. And they send a digital receipt back to Digication. That's how Digication knows to give you a little green box. Sometimes Pearson doesn't do that. It's just a tech thing that it gets dropped along the way, we'll say, to extend this metaphor. So Digication, they got all the stuff over to Pearson, but they just never got the little receipt. That's not going to stop you from being able to do everything. If you see it on Pearson's site, it's as good as that green box. So you navigate over to your edTPA tab in Pearson's site, and you're going to see a very similar list. This is after you've transferred stuff over. You will not see anything on edTPA on Pearson's site right now. You will go to, I forget what the URL is off the top of my head. You can literally Google edTPA Pearson, and it'll give you a little login. you will see all the sections. You'll see the tasks and the and the items that you just sent over. You now have to go through and double check every one of these. Just eyeball it. There's actually, it's funny I say that, it is a creepy little eyeball icon that when I hit review, I have to go and click on the weird little blue eyes and look at the item. This is to ensure that you didn't accidentally put your document from task 3 into task 1 or something like that. That you didn't upload a still image, a JPEG, where your movie should have been. These are all things that have happened. So if you find yourself in that scenario, take a deep breath, and then we will contact you. Write support at Education, and you just say, I am so-and-so, I'm in this class, and I need my edTPA tab unlocked. Because when you send all the content to Pearson, it locks your tab so that all your stuff's protected. So you just ask them to unlock it, go back and change the file out, go back to the edTPA tab, fix the thing, and submit it again to Pearson. You're not charged extra, that's why we have this process, is so that you can just send as much back as you need. It will take a little time, but you'll get all your content back in there in the correct order. And then when you're all done with that, we'll put that, please wait. You'll check off that all that stuff is good, and then I think that's the end of it. Oh, there's always like a little ready to submit thing, but that'll be it. You'll go down through the whole thing. There'll be a ready to submit at the very end. You will submit to Pearson on Pearson's site, and then you can go sleep or take a nap or take a walk or whatever you want to do because you're done. That's the end process. You have to review everything on Pearson's site first. So just to let you know, when you send from Digication, that's not the end. You still need to check stuff. Is everybody okay? All right. So, do we have any other questions on the site before we dive into cutting your videos and all that good stuff?
So what if the transfer fails?
If there's thank you for reminding me. If the transfer fails, the question is, where did it fail? 9 times out of 10, I would say contact Pearson first. If they say, we didn't get it, we got it, whatever, contact Education and ask them to unlock the tab and resubmit it again. A lot of times it's just something goes wrong along the way and you just need to push it again. It's not, that's why we have a backup of all this stuff on Education. That's just to ensure that you're not losing your information along the way. And then, is there another one off of that? If it fails, and then if it, sometimes it'll say error, like a 500 number, like a 503 or a 502. Go back and try to, wait a few minutes and let it sit for a moment, and then try to submit it again. That's just a server error. It won't penalize you for that. Lots to think of. Okay.
Don't be scared.
All right. So we will hang around online for a little bit with the chat open. So if you guys joined late and have a couple of questions, feel free to ask them on the side. And then for you guys here, we will start to dive into your actual footage and hopefully make tonight a relatively painless experience. So with that, thank you. And we'll just leave this going. But yeah, divide and conquer.
Yeah.
I'm done.
All right.
Yeah.
You're over here for video. Are you guys all good?
Yeah.
I'll probably be back.
So I have here, and I wanted to check the file size, but I don't know how.
I don't think you can on here. Is that an iPad?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you check file size on an iPad?
I didn't want to. It's not here. You put any videos for your
Yeah. What am I doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that. But I trimmed it out.
I
Do you have a
From
computer?
my experience, I would say
My iPad,
better,
I mean, my
just like the wording on this, because
MacBook
your
I can already get
faculty
here.
members,
You're probably gonna have
so
to
your
compress that video. I don't know how
university
big that is.
supervisor to help you out on that. Just because I'm not a master on this sort of stuff, I don't know exactly, and I don't know.
Maybe try email it.
I will say that that is good footage. So I at least not like they see you working with that. So whether that particular task,
Put it in
I
an
know
email
I've done
and it'll show the
footage
size.
that possibly is still good to use.
Like just put some into.
It's always a mix. Like, to be honest,
I think it's gonna be pretty good. You filmed it on your phone?
Yeah, she was,
Oh, yeah.
okay, so today.
That's like the 4 good taste quality that we were talking about.
Just like even
Automatically
I've seen a lot of it. I know that yeah, you're in the shop, you're walking around, you're seeing stuff like that. I've also seen people like
A little blurry.
the percentage of that too. Are you just like instructions and going? Are you just talking?
Yeah,
So I don't
Like the latter
have
is the bad.
the feedback.
You want the students to be doing things, but you know, you're giving them instructions.
I mean,
only
maybe
watch
like.
that. See if it tells you not to talk.
You're gonna have to do that.
Yeah, it's like we're in a group and we're talking.
Yeah. You don't have to be like suddenly just magically in the class working with everybody. Like they know you have to introduce lessons. They know that you have to
Yeah.
So to the degree of that, I will clarify with your university supervisor.
Did you have any
But I
questions?
would not worry that it's like enough. I would just, you know. Mm-hmm.
Oh, you have the little movie maker. Do you know how to do it on the Windows movie maker? The drama? You guys okay with video editing?
Yeah, I'm just like concerned about like my video like disappearing.
I would say if it's important stuff
Like I'm
to the
just concerned about
lesson,
like that.
you could
Really
note
low?
it on there, but you're audible and they
Yeah,
can
with
hear.
the
So as long as you're
kids.
highlighting that this is where I did this and this is what I said, you know, in your commentary.
Whenever I'm put up on my iPad, but. So I did it, I recorded on my iPad. I recorded on both.
Oh, good. So yeah, double back up.
Yeah.
We don't sell liquor until 11, right? See you there tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can hear you. I would say again, you know, my ears are different, so you know, bounce it off of actual like maybe while you're
Is that the
talking.
way it is the whole video?
Ask
Or is it a
them what they
little
think,
louder?
but I think if you want to take it,
Because it's kind of hard to
you
get
know,
people in here, so
my ears
I
have
don't know
a
how
lot
it
of
sounds
different
like.
things, so I don't know. But I would say,
You
you
played it
know,
on a
at
computer?
worst, yeah, it never
No,
hurts
like I
to
played
put
on my
some notes in there.
iPad and it sounds like
But
it's like
as long
low,
as
but I
you
can like
can
make
hear,
it
you
out
know, it's not like the thing that they're really gonna look for is.
What about on your computer?
I haven't. I was
You know,
just
like,
going
can I
to-
not I see your
Yeah,
lips
try and
moving,
see on
but
the computer,
no,
'cause
like I can't
what phone is
discern
that?
anything. That's where they.
I mean, the speaker isn't like the top-notch quality on that, you know what I mean? Like, probably on the new one, probably be able to get it a little better. So it could be just your phone.
Okay, yeah, because that's like.
And then the iPad, is that like a brand new iPad, or?
Yeah, and I don't know to the
Maybe the
amount
speakers
as well,
is
because
low
they
in
also
there, and you
know
can really hear
that
better
you're
on
never
TV,
gonna be
or
perfect
they'll probably
all
play
the
these on
time.
computers,
This is
right?
real life.
Yeah.
Maybe the percentage
Yeah,
of that,
I mean, like-
I honestly don't know.
I mean, I can hear
This
you.
one's better. Like
But,
this
I
was
mean,
my
it's
first
good
video, so I
quality
have like
in the
this
sense of,
one.
like,
I wonder why it would come out
I
different.
see you
Yeah,
working with
because
the
this one
students.
like was
and,
perfect. I could
you know,
hear it.
It's like the
whole
same
time.
camera, right?
Yeah, it's the
everybody.
same exact
So
thing.
there,
So it
you
was kind of
definitely
weird.
just,
Yeah.
You know, it's not bad for
So I don't know.
It's just whether, you know.
I mean,
I mean, it sounds low, but I mean, you can still hear what you're saying.
okay. I just
Most of them, most of them.
Here, play that one again, I wanna make sure.
Yeah, most of them.
There's
that's
this
the
one
kind of
too.
stuff.
You have to use that one.
What's the
I was
context?
gonna say,
And so if you can understand the concept of what's going on. I know I can't give you like a definitive
Well,
like, yes,
yeah.
that's awesome, or no, that's terrible, but I would also just because I've been okay.
Like all these
in the past, but,
animals
you
in our
know, as
classroom, jungle.
university
Yeah.
supervisor
Yeah, I
top
could hear it.
seven,
Okay.
yes, then like
That was
two
like my concern. It's like
confirmed people is
I'm
always
like-
better.
I mean, it isn't like the loudest, but hey,
Yeah.
it isn't the loudest, but then again, it's on
I
your phone,
personally
so
know.
how does it
I'm
sound on your
not
computer?
that area, so,
How was it?
Did you have any
But I've
questions?
done, ironically, I've been going through this.
You're still working on it?
Yeah,
But
but
a million
I
times.
it's like
Yeah.
26 a minute, and it's like 30 points.
Let me see if you have any questions online.
Okay.
Give me 1 second here.
Like, like how long
It's
do you
still a good idea to compress it to export.
If you're under the 500, don't worry about it.
Can we turn off the live stream, Megan?
It'll take a little longer, but
It looks like it's off.
I mean, it's,
Oh, you put the.
if you want to
It's
do
so
it,
funny
nobody's
because
stopping you.
you
But
say
if the
the
footage
things
is
for
fine,
my
I
mind.
mean, just don't mess with it. Just let it go.
Drive first.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then her, you
Yeah.
know, says,
So your question is audio related or just trimming?
Yeah, I know, that one's, it'll normally yell at you. It'll normally say like,
Oh.
your file
Like,
is
it
too
is,
long or
but
like exceeds size.
just take it
Yeah. So if it took it, you're good.
Does this Wi-Fi connect to your computer? Or
Yeah, not a problem.
How does that work?
I was just
turn the
gonna.
phone
Do we
on.
have a micro USB? Okay.
Micro USB?
Oh,
Which
okay.
one is micro USB?
So are you able, do you have the Google Drive app on your phone?
Oh, USB-C? Yeah, to what? I have USB-C to USB-C. Switch doesn't.
She's uploading to Google Drive now.
Yeah, it's big, so it's.
How
I
big is
have,
it?
3 gigabytes, it's like 3 gigabytes.
I have the
Oh.
USB-C to USB,
Should I?
but not to, but as the wrong direction. It would be like, no, if you were trying to plug a USB dongle into a computer, like it goes that way, so you could plug a USB stick into your phone, but not. We might have a double-ended cable though you can use. Don't we have a male-to-male cable? You could just should. Yeah, of course. If it mounts it as a device, yeah.
Do we have an adapter for a small memory card?
All right, let me go look real quick.
She has like a small SD card. Who else has questions here?
Actually, a little more.
Okay.
Okay, so I know like we're not aware like
What do you think, Megan? I can clearly read Huskies now.
But.
How many Huskies there are? My elementary school had
Well, come and
Huskies.
look, so she can.
Is it like named Huskies?
Yeah, it says Highland Huskies. My hair is like
Covering part of it.
yeah.
Fourth was lunch, so I just kind of like started organizing myself.
Don't want you to get docked.
Right, yeah. That's
Say, oh, well, we could read the name.
It is a short schedule. So the dad, fifth period, she taught, working on my stuff, and then sixth period, I didn't like know which way she wants us to go with it, so I just put it down.
your parent
So she is,
like that's a
today,
one that
tomorrow,
is
but I want that day seeing them because we not there Monday, Tuesday.
I can see Huskies, but I can't read the
Wednesday,
first
only
one.
sophomores are.
Yeah, it's supposed to say
So,
I
see, my
almost
fifth period starts, and then.
I mean, he's in the
and
way
then his dad like blocks it for
the whole time.
It's only 3 minutes, yeah, but it was like
Remember this?
Okay, then I wouldn't. Oh, you got one.
I was like, I figured we had
to
one.
see if I
So this one should.
I mean, is it imperative that you have that beginning part?
I mean, I bet I cut it out.
Oh, it's that one. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you had the other one. So this one's not right?
That's for my
I'm sorry. You're trying. I
I
mean, he covers a lot of it.
Because there's at one point you can see like.
Sorry, I thought you.
And the thing is, would they be looking?
Yeah.
Like it happens so quickly in the beginning of the video.
Right. Yeah, otherwise like my hair covers it, so I just wasn't sure if I could see.
Android, sometimes you have to do the like
Device
device
trying to
change
get his
thing.
third opinion. He's supposed to get another opinion.
I can clearly read husky.
There was in the entryway. I don't know. Yeah, go for it.
You could argue your hair cover.
Do what's your
The logo, you can see part of it.
Which logo?
The huskies. But her hair is covering it. You watch it, most of it. Do you think it's a concern?
I don't think, but if you really, I mean, I don't think it's a problem, but if you really want to make sure, I mean, we can put a big old fuzzy block right there. It's just gonna be
Weird.
It doesn't need to
I mean, it
look
would have
nice,
been, but it would
but
have
like that would,
I would have to unpack.
so we could always do that.
I did it
but
more
that's-
linear way.
I mean, your hair is blocking it, the logo is gonna, just as huskies, like.
Yeah, I can clearly see husky. It's a husky could be a
Yeah,
dog.
it could be anywhere, so
cool.
I wouldn't sweat it, but if you are, wanting more, we could just put a fuzz block on that, and then it'll just sit on his head for half the time.
Do you think her audio is too low
Oh, I wasn't even listening.
for one of them?
This is the one that it's like kind of low. Like if you hold on, like put your ear to it.
Can you get the video off her iPhone? It's via image capture.
Which one? Whose computer?
I mean, it doesn't
What?
have
Whose
to be.
computer?
Should I work
Again,
across?
like if you just raise
Yes.
the volume on
This
the
one.
thing,
Oh.
and you go to save it,
No, you need to put in your
that'll be
password.
fine too.
Because I was gonna say when I put like my headphones in to listen to it, I can make out everything I'm saying.
Oh,
But like
okay.
when I like I don't know, it's just really.
If you
low.
opened it on another device, maybe other than a tablet, and it sounds fine, then I wouldn't worry
Okay,
about it.
and then who is
If
it?
it's just the tab,
Which one?
Because if it's just the
No,
tab playing it low, then
it's-
yeah, that's fine.
you're
But
using
if it
image
opens
capture on
another
there to
computer,
get it
you're
off.
still like, you know, then.
Do you know how to do that?
Yeah.
No, it's 30, you gotta get at least a 30.
Which one is yours?
No, I'm talking about like each one is out of 5, right? Each one.
This one?
No, it's 15. Where's the top like?
Oh.
And you can get 6.
Well, what
6
file do you
too.
want?
And
That's the same one as
rest
that one.
Can be any type of yes.
What other one?
It's just that one.
Just this one?
21. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 3 or.
You gotta be like,
3 times 7 plus 6 times 2 is 12.
Do I just?
12 plus 12.
yeah.